everybody, and welcome into your next chapter with Stacie Schlichtenmyer, buying and selling real estate here in northern Indiana. That's what we talk about every morning, Saturday morning, that is. And Stacie, it's good to see you this morning.
Good to see you too, Balin.
It's always great to talk with you before we kind of debrief the week before and just talk about your experiences out there helping people buy, sell homes, estate, things like that, lake home, whatever it might be. You're helping them, and you do come across some really fun and different situations. I guess we've kind of experienced quite a few things with you recently, but what we want to talk about this morning, after kind of talking about the lake law week previous, we were kind of bouncing around a little bit, but this is probably the most asked, at least I feel like from a general person not in the real estate world, the most asked thing. If I want to sell my home, what are meaningful improvements that I'm not going to lose money on or would be a beneficial investment? And I'm sure you hear that all the time.
Absolutely, yes.
So let's start there. And I think to put a good frame of mind and perspective in this is when you are working with someone selling a home, you're that asset because you come in and you not only obviously help them get that home on the market and get it prepared, but you're looking through the eyes of a buyer. And that is what's going to really sell a home to someone when they walk in for the first time and they're thinking about buying that home, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What are things? Let's start that conversation. Let's talk about that. When you walk through a home, what are some first things as you begin to prepare for that selling process and get that home ready for market?
So I would say the first thing is before you even get inside the home. I mean, really, you're pulling up to that home, and as an agent, I'm looking at the roof, I'm looking at the neighbor's roof, I'm looking at the sidewalks, I'm just looking at the general maintenance of the yard, taking a look at everything, really. So you're seeing how that property is being presented. Every potential buyer is essentially grading that, right? And when we talk to our sellers, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think the condition of your home is? And so those things, the buyers are doing that as well. If they're out and they're looking at other homes, yours is being compared to every other one that they're looking at on the market at that time. So you've got one shot. You've got one shot at a first impression. And so we know that when people walk into a house, right, that it's the emotion of that house, and it's the smell, it's the lighting, it's the textures. Those are the things oftentimes that stand out compared to the other houses, and that's what gets your house sold.
But hey, Stacie, I want to put a brand new kitchen into my
Yeah.
home. Will that help me sell my home?
It very well may. Now, the caveat to that is often kitchens and bathrooms are the most expensive to redo. Often you are going to get the most return on those because they're expensive. People spend a lot of time in the kitchen and also the bathroom, right? So we like to have those spaces redone and nice. Now, if we spend $20,000 to redo a kitchen, does that mean that we get to ask $20,000 more for the house? You can. Are you going to get it? Probably not. And so sometimes that's a difficult conversation to have, but just being upfront with those expectations. So when a buyer sees a house with a brand new kitchen and the price tag, they expect they get that kitchen with the price tag. And so when you're looking at comparables, if it's $20,000 more than any other comparable, chances of selling it at that price are very, very slim.
Yeah, the quick turnaround, the depreciation of that investment, I don't think would be a good idea, but it does depend on your time frame. And before we talk about time frame, I do want to just remind everybody, you're putting yourself in the buyer's shoes. So the love and the hard work that you're going to put in that kitchen, that design, those decisions that you're going to feel probably pretty financially tied to because you spent the money, but also emotionally tied to as a seller, kind of got to flush that out, unfortunately. As sad as it is to say, you have to let that go, and sometimes that's how you get bid on that final price tag if you try to make those investments. So I think it's a very important to point out, don't look necessarily at the big stuff, but make those assessments like you just talked about, the smell, the light, what it feels like, what the neighborhood looks like, because that's going to be your probably first impression factors that are going to help sell that home. But time frame, we open with that. It's very important as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I would say probably the average time frame of someone wanting to sell their home, if it's not affected by a job or whatever might be happening, 6 months to a year is probably a fair assessment. Every situation different, but
sure.
Just let's put our minds in that time frame. So maybe someone looking to sell within the next 6 months, they reach out to you first. That's a smart thing to do. But what are some things they can do very early on in the process to get ahead of the game?
So the first thing, if they say, hey, we want to sell in 6 months because of XYZ, for me, if I'm not familiar with the property, obviously getting eyes on the property and getting inside of it, we can compare, on the MLS, but until we're there and we're actually taking a look at that, that's going to be kind of the best step. And then it's really, for me, it's personalized. It's for every person. I want to meet them where they're at. Some people want to call, like I said, 6 months ahead of time because they want to know every single thing that wants to be, needs to be done. Or what can we do to, maybe get a little bit more out of our house? Like we want to net the most amount of money. That's where I can come in and say, you know what, maybe we can change out some fixtures or some hardware. There's paint. There are a lot of little things that can add up overall. Also, I can get that call at 6 months and someone's like, we're going to sell in 6 months and we're not doing anything. We are completely overwhelmed, whatever the situation is. And so having that personalized plan and then knowing what the goal of your sellers are. Because if that's the case, like, okay, that's just a different conversation we're going to have, then we're going to know we may have some concessions that buyers are going to ask for. If we have things that need repaired, which often we do. And at that point, a lot of times the sellers are looking at it like, well, I don't really want to spend $10,000 to put in new floors because what if the new buyers don't like them? And to that I say, I agree 100%. What we can do is price it accordingly and we can put in a credit in there. We can communicate that the sellers are willing to offer this concession for new flooring, or we can price it competitively, basically then without that update. And so it's priced competitively because we know that we need new flooring. So it's really what that secret sauce is for each seller.
And I want to keep going with that frame of thought, but real quick, if someone has made an investment in their home, changed something, neutral probably is the best way to go about that. Meaning, don't do anything too exotic, no crazy colors, light fixtures, things like that. Probably the best because, like you said, what if the new seller or what if the buyer they don't like it?
Yep.
That's probably the safe thing there. So if you are going to do that, or you have already done that, try to keep it as neutral as possible, just to not try to go off the beaten path too far and make it something that will put you out of the market.
Sure. Paint colors matter. They do matter to
paint
people.
Paint colors matter, type of flooring, things like that. Other thing too, kind of along those lines, is you don't want to be blindsided. So like, let's say I do want to sell in 6 months. Obviously, if you're selling in 6 months, not obviously, but in most cases, you're going to be going into a new place to live.
Yes.
Getting ahead of that early, kind of understand what the market is, what you don't like, what you do like, probably the next step in that process.
Yes. So often then, yes, it's okay, we're selling, where are we going? And whether we're going to stay locally or not, it just looks a little different. And so a lot of times when I'm working with my clients, they may be a year or more out from buying because they are that far out from selling, but we're going to get them set up on a home search. So then they can start to be informed of how the current market is. They can start seeing things. They'll be able to see when things quickly are going pending. Next thing you know, I'll have my clients that are like, oh, such and such just hit the market. Looks like it's going to go fast because they've been keeping an eye and they know like, hey, this is priced really well. So they're just a lot more informed of kind of the current market. And that's really I like that collaborative approach. It keeps everyone on the same page. Also, then if hey, we're going to be selling, the worst thing to happen is for that perfect home to pop up and you are not in a position where you can put an offer in. And so often people are contingent and they have to sell that house in order to buy. So if in your mind you're like, we've already decided we're going to sell, but we're a year out or 2 years out, in my experience, life happens every day and timelines change all the time. And that's okay. That's just the way that it is. So being aware that there's usually more than one perfect home, but you could potentially lose out on something if you're in that in-between time. And that does happen to people sometimes, and it can really knock the wind out of people's sail. So I try to just be very aware of that and be mindful of that. Because I want to set people up for success. And I think sometimes people don't realize how quickly that time frame and that the market changes. So when something hits the market and it's priced competitively, I mean, right now average days on market are like 15. And so often, depending on how that's priced, they may, I just saw that there was a place in Syracuse that's pending after a day and a half. So it happens, and the last thing you want is that perfect house to pop up, and then you're like, oh, but we can't put an offer in on it. So just things to keep in mind.
Yeah, I don't want to say don't set yourself up for failure, but certainly don't be demoralized when something doesn't go your way, because the market's very fluid. Things happen, offers fail, back up, whatever. But you do have a lot of houses at times, and there are options. And like you said, just because that perfect home wasn't the perfect home for you doesn't mean there's not another one out there.
Right, that's true.
And you're going to be able to find that.
A house is like a spouse.
Yeah.
I say that all the time.
There you go. That's a new one. I've not
Also,
heard that
when
one
you
yet.
find a house and we go under contract on that house, I always encourage my clients to stop looking at other houses. It's kind of like when you find a spouse. If you keep looking, you're going to find something else. Just stop.
Yeah, just stop it right there.
Yep. There's a perfect house and spouse for everyone, right?
That's right. That's right. Real quick, as we kind of get ready to close up, another point that I've learned with this process as well as we kind of get ready to get in the mindset to sell a home. Knowing what you're going to be able to put down, and this is not financial advice, nothing like that. This is on the realtor side, buying and selling. But also kind of knowing what you can expect back out of your home is a good point. What did you buy your home for? When did you buy it? Where's the market at? Figuring out those things are going to help you get a better expectation of that perfect home that you're going to be able to go out and forward.
Yep. Absolutely. Most people are aware of that Z estimate, okay? Whether or not that's accurate, for some people it absolutely is. I mean, it's an algorithm, so it uses public data. Sometimes it's not accurate at all. So that's why having someone that's local, that's in the market every day, that, it's inside homes, it's pricing homes, it's selling homes is your best bet. But it is nice to at least have. And so most people are aware, of a Z estimate, but then, reaching out to a professional to be able to give you that like comparative market analysis, to be able to pull up comps in your area. Most people know when a house in their neighborhood has sold. And so it's our job, obviously, to look at that data, but we want to be looking at apples to apples. And so when you're looking at things, we want to keep the square footage very similar, the beds and baths, just to give the most accurate, picture.
Yeah, and an example uniquely to me, and this might not be to everybody, but we live in Akron, and it's not often that a home is going on the market and sold every single day. So that Z estimate, if I'm not mistaken, it's kind of looking at the homes around me.
Yeah.
Well, when there's not a lot of homes, there's not a lot of data for that algorithm to go off of, you're not going to get maybe as accurate a picture. It'll be a good picture as you would maybe in a neighborhood in Warsaw that's had 4 or 5 homes go on the market and go off the market. So it's situational for sure.
Yes.
And that's why we reach out to you, Stacie. Where can people find you if they're in the process or ready to start that process of getting ready to put their home in the market and kind of getting that seller's mindset?
So the best way to reach me is my cell phone, and my number is 574-334-7105. And you can also email me. My email address is lakecitystacie. That's lakecitystacie, Stacie, @kw.com. And you could also just stop right on down in person. We're at 212 South Buffalo Street. And yes, we'd be happy to see you.
Awesome, Stacie. Any weekend plans? We know the weather kind of derailed last weekend and different things. Were we doing anything this weekend?
We're showing houses.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, it's a beautiful weekend to show some houses and do some family stuff. So we're excited about that.
Cool. That pre-holiday push. Kind of everybody, I don't want to say everybody's going to shut down when we get closer to 4th of July, but we kind of all know how that week goes in the work world, because it's certainly going to slow down. People are excited about the holiday, as they should be. It'll be a great one, but we've got a couple weeks until then. And Stacie, we'll talk to you next week.
Sounds great. Thanks so much, Balin.
Absolutely. That's Stacie Schlichtenmyer with your next chapter, buying and selling real estate here in Northern Indiana. We'll talk to you next week.